Hi, I'm Courtney with Mouth Marketing, and I'm interviewing Chris Chambers with Beyond. So what skills and lessons and success do you think that students could get with Beyond?
So Beyond's all about entrepreneurship and bringing entrepreneurial skills and kind of thought processes to high school students. So in terms of like skills, there are a lot of new skills and challenges that pop up when you're running your own company because you're not working on someone else's clock anymore, you're working on your own. Which means like time management becomes a whole new animal to deal with because at work, you're usually trying to kill time. Like I've worked in restaurants, and it was like if I had an 8-hour shift and we were slow, I was like running out the clock, right? But if I'm working for myself, I can go a bit quicker. There's also all kinds of business skills that a lot of people don't learn until after college. Because we teach business in school, but there's a lot of things you just have to learn through trial and error, unfortunately. But if you can learn through trial and error early, then when you get to school, your questions are more poignant and more, your education is more enriched because you've experienced that. So that's another area that I think a lot of students need at a young age, and that's what we're hoping to do with Beyond.
And what do you think parents and teachers can benefit from with Beyond?
There'll be more mature students. Students will learn a lot more about the real world. I think it shatters a lot of perspective issues at a young age when you start your own company and have to deal with all the fun, interesting problems that come with that. But there's definitely a profile of entrepreneurs at a young age. They're usually rebellious. They usually challenge the status quo, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when you're in an environment, like sadly most schools do not like rebellious challengers to authority, naturally, right? I was that kid in school. I used to get in trouble for asking too many questions, which I think is ridiculous, but that's just where we're at. So Beyond and entrepreneurship in general gives those students who have that wonderful ability to question, it gives them an outlet for that skill, which I think will kill off a lot of discipline issues that these students will inevitably face in high school and middle school and pretty much any age, That's the biggest benefit for me for parents is because you turn a weakness into a strength.
Right. And how do you think Beyond could benefit society?
So when AJ and I started talking about this, AJ's obviously super passionate about entrepreneurship. That comes up within 10 minutes of conversation with her. And I'm very passionate about education, and particularly using education to end generational poverty in Houston. So when you talk about benefits to society, only 39% of people in the United States have a savings account. So like for me, growing up, I'm the youngest of 5, single mom, right? If one of us got sick or if the car broke down, you could cut the tension with a knife in the home because there was no money to fall back on to take care of that. And everyone talks about like financial empowerment, and I think Beyond is a way to do that with students at a young age, right? Because a lot of these students in poorer areas of Houston and even outside of Houston, all over the country, have to help their families out. I have a lot of friends whose dads left at a young age, and they're not sometimes the breadwinner, but more like a secondary breadwinner, helping their mom, take care of younger siblings. And if those kids have to work in fast food restaurants and stuff like that, and make minimum wage, they have to work more hours. And they usually have to have a second and a third job. So jobs don't solve poverty, better jobs solve poverty. And Beyond gives students the ability to dictate what their time is worth. And that leads to financial empowerment. That also leads to kids don't have to work 40 hours a week. Then while in high school, then they can study more, which means they get better grades, which means they go to college. And that's just better for everyone. Better voters, better jobs, less poverty, less homelessness.
Right. And then do you have a quick lesson for teens?
Involving entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
Sure. So when I was 13 or 14, I started my own private soccer coaching business, which meant that every Saturday, right, I worked for about 10 hours. I charged like $50 an hour, right? So my Saturdays were built around that like earning window, or like income earning window, which meant that my time is now mine on Saturdays, which means I had to manage my own time. And at 13, when your time actually matters, time is literally money, you learn how to manage time well, which is a skill that a lot of people don't learn until later on in life. Because when you have to balance school and soccer and work, you learn that lesson. So I love time management and learning how to, one, prioritize my time early and focus on the right things. That was a big skill. So like, and you can Google this, there's something called a time matrix. It's originally, or it's most well known from Stephen Covey, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So there's 4 quadrants, right? There's urgent, important activities, there's non-urgent, important activities, and there's urgent, non-important, and urgent, or non-urgent, non-important as well. I know that's a little convoluted, so just Google it, there's a picture. But if you can learn to prioritize a to-do list before you actually start doing the activities, you'll get a lot more done because you're getting the right things done. So that's my biggest takeaway.